What's up YouTube? Welcome to the channel. It's been a while for all my returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a viewer question from CRLS Reese or Krillis Reese, and it reads, what's the best combination for beginner doubler, alto sax clarinet or tenor sax clarinet? Thank you so much for the question, and let's get straight to it. First things first, I want to say that before you even think about doubling, this is just my opinion, you need to have a strong proficiency on a primary instrument. So you might ask, what's a strong proficiency? For me, it's a couple of things. At a minimum, you want to be able to play major and minor scales throughout the full range of the instrument, be able to play etudes and be comfortable with standard repertoire for the instrument. Once again, we're not talking about grade 6 things here, but you want to have had spent a good deal of time on that primary instrument. There have been too many cases where I've seen a lot of musicians get comfortable on a certain instrument and get up to a certain level and kind of get sidetracked, not really sidetracked, but get interested in other instruments. And so they start playing the next instrument and then they get interested in the next thing. And then what happens is, just to be blunt, you get really okay or mediocre at a bunch of instruments instead of, building up the proficiency in the first one and then spending copious amounts of time on the next few instruments. But I digress. So let's talk about general recommendations. So typically in a jazz band setting, your typical saxophone section would be your alto sax doubling on flute, so that's alto 1 and alto 2, and then your tenor saxes would double on clarinet, and typically you would see bari sax double on something like clarinet or bass clarinet. So I would say if you're interested in going down that route and you're mainly preparing for playing in a big band, then that would be my main recommendations. Now, if you're going to go the musical theater route, I highly advise you that regardless of whatever instrument it is you play primarily, that you concentrate on clarinet. There's a couple of reasons for this. My main number one reason, and this is me speaking generally and for myself, but it usually takes a good bit of time to get proficient at clarinet if you haven't played it before or you didn't start on it. And a lot of the read books and the musical theater gigs that I've played, it seems that clarinet is like the baseline and then everything else kind of springs off of that, just depending on what musical theater show you're playing. Once you spend a good bit of time, and I'm talking about a lot of time, those same kind of minimum elements that you put on your primary instrument that you can consider yourself proficient in. So I'm talking about scales, I'm talking about arpeggios, I'm talking about playing through the full range of the instrument and having some dynamic sensitivity and obviously being able to play in tune. I would move on to that next instrument, which for me would be flute. So just on a personal level, what I did was I spent all my time on saxophone. Now minus the secondary instruments I played in church, I played bass and drums and other instruments in church. But I learned how to read music on saxophone and played all through middle school and high school and went through college. My first semester in college, I went over to clarinet, and then I continued to take clarinet lessons until a year later when I added flute. And so those lessons continued, so it was like I was on that 5-year program, I'm just being honest. But I took a lot of lessons on clarinet, and that was my first double I added. Then I added flute, and then I went on to oboe, and then I tried bassoon and failed horribly, but that's another story. And then we went on from there. So those are the doubles that I play: flute, clarinet, saxophone, a smidgen of oboe, and some rhythm section instruments on the side just for fun. And yeah, so those are my general recommendations. Honestly, I would play the instrument that you, this might sound corny, but whatever your heart is telling you to play and whatever one you have the most interest in playing, I would start that one first, but be very, very serious about it. Approach it as if you're playing that instrument primarily. So there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I love getting these questions in. If you have any questions, make sure you leave it down in the comment boxes below. Comment and subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next video. Out.